Second person that we have here today is Dr. Imtiyaz Yusuf, who is Assistant Professor and Lecturer Director for Buddhist-Muslim Understanding, College of Religious at Mahidol University in Thailand. He is a multilingual, he knows many languages and has been working in a variety of areas. At the moment, he is teaching also in Georgetown University, Washington, D.C., USA. He specializes in religion with a focus on Islam in Thailand and Southeast Asia and in Muslim-Buddhist dialogue, which is very important in the case of Thailand. Dr. Yusuf regularly writes on Islam, religion and Middle East for the Thailand-based Bangkok Post and Nation.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much to the organizers and especially to Father Eilers for inviting me here. I met him about 10 years ago when he did a conference on social communication at Assumption University, where I was teaching before. Before I go to my presentation, I need to introduce myself because I have a very different background. I was born in Africa, in Tanzania, and when I say that to my students, they ask me, why are you not black? And yes, I said there are people like me there. Being born in Tanzania of an Indian origin, I hold a British passport. I'm living in Thailand for 27 years. I speak 6 languages. I speak English. I speak Swahili, that's the African language. Many people don't know that. I speak Hindi and Urdu. I studied that when I went to study in India. I speak Arabic when I work on Islam, and I speak Thai. So I learned Hindi when I went to India. So I speak 6 languages. So for people of communication here, I tell them, yesterday somebody told me, oh, you are a real global person. I said, no, I don't say that. I say, I was globalized before globalization. My globalization is not a Pepsi-Cola globalization. It's a globalization of languages, cultures, and religions. I've worked in Thailand for 27 years. I've worked in Assumption University for 12 years. I'm teaching now in Mahidol University, where I've been for also a long time. And I say that I'm a Muslim among Buddhists, and I'm a Buddhist among Muslims. I'm a Muslim among Catholics, and I'm a Catholic among Muslims. Because that's how, I'm a Muslim among Catholics, and I'm a Catholic among Muslims. Because that's how I see the world. I don't understand the word globalization at all. It emerged in 1990, and still I have a struggle with this word. Because I can't eat the same kind of food for more than 2 days. And my world is different. Sometimes I'm in Africa, sometimes in India. I did my PhD in USA. I'm in America and in Southeast Asia. So I really don't know who I am. Maybe God destined me to be born at this time. I think that's an asset for my young students. I'm teaching about 400 students in my College of Religious Studies, and all of them are Buddhist. I'm the only Muslim teacher in there. So, and when I see the world, I work on, I'm not a media person, I'm from religious studies. When I see the world, I see what is going on is the wars of religious nationalism. Nationalism has turned religious in this age. And in my view, the next stage is religious fascism. Be ready for it. The world looks very violent to me. It is not the global age which I was born in, where we used to live together. When I go to Africa, they tell me, you're my brother. But I used to live in southern Thailand, and one day they told me, my colleague told me, Achan Yusuf or Sir Yusuf, you are Muslim is good, where you're Malay, I love you more. Now Muslims can understand what I mean. I said, where's the Muslim brotherhood? I see a cosmic war going on. I see that all religions, there's no religion today which is not free from the stain of violence. And this stain of violence doesn't come with religions, it comes with the people who are following religions. Multiculturalism is failing. Yet we have all this open access to information and communication while we are here. But we are seeing political, ethnic, and ethno-religious conflicts. These conflicts are resulting of non-religious factors. So I believe that the social science theory that religion is the cause of all conflict is a fallacy. It's wrong. It's historically wrong, it's religiously wrong. Because if that was the case, then all the founders of religions would have been fighting and warring all the time, which they did not do. What we see today in Asia is that all around the world, our life is Googled. Professor Google knows more than me. He's more smarter than me. Our life is Android. We live a disrupted life. Yesterday somebody was talking about that. 24 hours Google life. Google knows where I'm going, what is my flight time. But when I go to China, I have more peace because there's no Google. The Americans say, oh, there's no freedom in China, there's no human rights, no freedom of expression. This is what I read in American journals on communication. So I asked the Chinese, why there's no Google, why there's no all this Android, Google or Yahoo, why is all this restriction? They told me, these are people on very high stages, they told me, we want to preserve our culture. This is the challenge for Asia, especially. I see India very dearly. Well, I spent 12 years as a student over there, and everything is fading away. In Thailand, everybody is on the phones. This is a challenge. We don't eat without taking a picture. We don't say grace anymore. So I think we Asians and Africans, we are modern by accident. Accident of colonialism. That's true. And this accident is taking place through these gadgets of communication we have. Religions are basically the source of peace, but to remove suffering, but today they have become sources of all war. Religion is back, but back with a vengeance. There was a hope by Lenin that capitalism would be the last stage of imperialism. The history has not ended. So that's where we are today. And we find in Asia, democracy, liberalism, and secularism are not related, but capitalism is. So everybody has gadgets and communicating, but at the same time, we in ASEAN, for the ASEAN people here, ASEAN Economic Community is a priority over ASEAN socio-cultural community. This is a challenge again for the media. The media is so much in sensationalization. And all the conflicts, Rohingya conflict going on, I knew it about 30 years ago. I met the leaders of Rohingya, and they told me, thanks to social media, everybody knows about us. We don't need to spend billions of dollars for the world to know. People are doing it. Putting on fake pictures, fake news about the clash between Islam and Buddhism. And this is all because of media. Everybody, pictures from Africa are often, there's a photo which is viral about Rohingya, circulating among the Muslims, of showing of burned bodies, but that is from a tanker which was burnt. And the village was burned because of the tanker exploded. And it has been shown that how Buddhists are persecuting and murdering Muslims. Totally false. So this is what we are facing today. The challenge of how to stop ethnocide and genocide. And there comes the media. Fundamentalism is growing and religions are fading away fast. The distinction, Professor Ayla just talked about communication. The distinction between human and the animal is language. And communication is based in language. Animals do not have religion because they do not have a capacity of language. I'm talking about Max Muller here. Animals just function to condition. If I tell my dog in Thailand, kin cow, he understands, eat rice. But when I go to my home in Africa and I say to my dog, kin cow, he doesn't understand anything. But I say, kula chakula, he knows it's time to eat the meal. So language is the barrier between human and animals, and we have to know only human beings have languages. Because all the founders of religion, Jesus, Muhammad, the rishis who gave us the Vedas, the Quran, all are communication in language. This is reality. And that's the gap between human and animal. But social science theories goes by social Darwinism and all that. So the religion's communication about compassion, about mercy, about charity, about agape is all lost. Even when you look at the religious traditions, Moses talks about when he wants to talk with Pharaoh, he says he needs to communicate with Pharaoh in the right way. When the rishis have their meditation in the Himalaya, it's always the sound from inside, Om Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. This you can't say outside, it comes from internal. Same with the Buddha, same with the Quran. And all of them, after having this communication, what did they do? They did their early social media activity of telling their followers, go and say it to the world. And that's our responsibility of all the communication students here. was studying communication. I'm very much concerned about the young generation because I believe that I received a peaceful world from my parents, but I'm bequeathing a violent world to the future generation. I'm very much concerned about my children and the young people here because the life is all Googled and the life is all disrupted. Furthermore, students in communication and people in communication and media should, I think you very well know about the saying by William Hearst when he said, "You furnish the pictures and I'll furnish the wall." This is what is going on today. That's what communication is doing. So, really, we have terrorism in the name of religion, but religions are not terrorists. That's how they're used for, they're exploited. And I tell my students that communication is so much dependent on internet, and I said to the students here, internet is not knowledge, it's KFC delivery. It just delivers to you. What is knowledge? Knowledge is the questions you ask. Professor Lend is here. Due respect to Professor, you've done great work on communication and cultures. Multiculturalism is a failure. Everybody knows that. So even on the ecological front, terrible world we have done. And I don't believe that, you know, the doomsday, God is going to bring doomsday. As a Muslim, I should believe that. But I think we are going to destroy ourselves with the world because of the destruction of the ecology. Doomsday will happen by us and not by something outside. So the main questions for the communication people is, what role can you play in building a multicultural world? What kind of the world are we passing on to the next generation? People in communication or in media, or they don't pay attention to this. So these are my main arguments that media has to talk about. There's a view that there's a book called World Without Islam. They think the world will be happier. We had Professor George to come out, gross national happiness. There's a scholar, Graham Fuller, World Without Islam, and he says it will be no much better than we have today. And it is a challenge before us. I'm going to show some slides. Before I do that, let me conclude by saying that we are modern by accident. We don't have understanding of what is modernity and technology. And we need to understand diversity and democracy, especially in Asia, because Asia has its own cultural sources of living together, and they are being eroded constantly. Before I finish, I want to share some of the slides I have prepared. So, this is the map of Asia. Here, India and China are the two main cultural influences, religious influences. The whole Southeast Asia is about India and China because we got languages from there, we got religions from there, we got cultures from there. Southeast Asia has 42% Muslim and 40% Buddhist, but let me tell you one thing. I work on Islam and Buddhism, but in the 900 years of coexistence between Islam and Buddhism, there's no one Muslim scholar of Buddhism and no one Buddhist scholar of Islam. This is where Southeast Asia is. This is a 400-year mosque in southern Thailand. It doesn't look like a mosque, it is syncretism. It's an early communication through architecture. The roof is Thai, the balcony is Chinese, and the below is the Malay house. The Malay house is the mosque. This is how cultures used to exist together before. This is another mosque in Indonesia. My friends will know it has no minarets. This is a Chinese mosque in Indonesia, again. You can't make it out. You may think it's a Chinese temple. This is very interesting. In Kudus, in Indonesia, there is a mosque, there's a Hindu temple, and there's a Buddhist temple behind that. All this is going away. Indonesia is not more moderate anymore. My friends tell me we are moderate, we are Muhammadiyah, and we are NU. I said, it doesn't work anymore. FBI is more stronger, you know what I mean? So, no religious system, this is Khushwant Singh for, I love Khushwant Singh. He says, no religious system is known to have escaped the cancer of intolerance. No religious system is free from the cancer of intolerance. There's a conflict going on in southern Thailand. It is about the Malay and the Thai, the Siamese. It's not about, as the media wants to search terrorists down there. It's a clash between two kingdoms. I'll show you some very graphic pictures. This is how conflict is taking place in southern Thailand. There's a mosque where the militants had secured themselves in the mosque, and then the army came and attacked them. This is reality. This is what communication does. This is another conflict in the same part in southern Thailand. People were put up in the mosque and attacked in the mosque and they died. It happens on both sides of religion. It's a real challenge for religions who say we are for peace or we are for tolerance. This is the army. Everyone is attacked. I don't want my children to go out to schools like this, my grandchildren, where they are escorted by the army. Think of the mind which is being formed here. If it's your brother or your son, you can think about the world we are creating through. And these are pictures, that's what I'm showing. I didn't take them. I got it from a journalist, a Thai journalist. It's not moving. Okay, this is how Buddhist monks go to collect alms every morning. Buddha never went this way with an army protection. This is how people practice their religion today. So what kind of communication is going on? Monks are attacked. Sorry about this graphic picture. Monks who are going to collect alms. It's on the both sides. So there's a peace talk, but there's no peace to end all peace. Myanmar, in news, because of ethnic differences and conflict. It's not only about Rohingya, it's about 135 groups which can't live together. This is Rohingya. Case in Arakan state, where people who have been living together, Muslims and Buddhists, for centuries, suddenly they are at each other's throats. A monk saying no to Rohingya. I don't want them. There's a pathological hatred towards the Rohingya. I said to the Indians, because they call them Kala. Kala means dark skin. This is racism. This is not Buddhism at all. Sri Lanka has the same problem. A monk who is so anti-Muslim wants to kick them out. You never see a monk behaving like that. So, there will be no peace among nations without peace among religions, the famous saying of Hans Kuhn. So, what's the hope? This is the world we are today. Dancers of war dancers, war mongers. American friends could relate to that. And a Muslim leader and an American leader. So, what do we do? I'm going to conclude with what I do, a little bit what I do myself. Is I go with this saying from Rumi who says, the wars of man are like quarrels of children. Both are meaningless and stupid. We are in the globalized age. And Rumi said this somewhere in the 13th century. I do conferences between Islam and Buddhism. I did a conference on compassion, the bridge between Islam and Buddhism. This is what I do. I bring people, Muslims, Buddhists, to work together. This is my hope. I teach at the Royal Buddhist University, besides where I work. And I have students who are monks from Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam, China. And these are my students. At the beginning, they have all their fears about Islam. But at the end, they become friendly. These are my students. I take them to the mosque. One day I take them to the mosque to visit, to observe the Muslim ritual or prayer on Friday. They told me, sir, we are not going. I said, why? They said, there are bombs in the mosque. I said, you go with me, I give you the guarantee, I'm your insurance package. And they went, but it was because of the Bangkok traffic jam, which is not as bad as Manila, they arrived before me. So I said, you guys, please go in, they are waiting for you. They said, no, you come first. And their bus was not air conditioned, very hot. So I came about half an hour late and they waited. They did not go inside the mosque. They were being to be welcomed. And finally they were received very well. And I end with the saying from the Dalai Lama, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. If you can help them, at least don't hurt them. Thank you very much.